I tell you, sleepy cat, mad, sleepy cat, mad.
Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are finally modding the Ram 1500 after only owning it for like 2 days. So I did not get the Sport Appearance package, so you can see it's got all this chrome around it, which actually doesn't look as bad as my last truck, because black and chrome honestly doesn't look that bad. So eventually I'm gonna do all the badges, but today what am I trying to accomplish? I'm gonna wrap the chrome on the mirrors. Because the chrome doesn't wrap all the way around, I think it actually won't be that bad to wrap myself. And Misa doesn't watch my channel anymore, so I'd go on a limb here and just say I'm probably a better rapper than Misa. Sorry dude, you don't watch my channel, so you. So you got all this chrome here. So like I said, I think this won't be too bad, honestly. Little chrome strip here. I'm gonna wrap this. I don't know if I'm gonna do it today. My goal is to get the mirrors done today, and then I do have some tint. So I'm gonna tint the third brake light. That should be super easy. It's real flat. So what I'm gonna do is remove the 4 Phillips head screws on there, and then tint that piece. And then we're gonna attempt the mirrors today. So got some options here. I've got the satin black or the gloss black for the mirrors. Can't decide yet. I think for the mirrors I could get away with the satin black, although sometimes the satin black looks cheap next to painted black. So, but the only thing is this is all kind of a flat black, so I think it would kind of blend in. But if I have enough, I think I'm actually going to use the satin or the gloss black. So we'll measure out the gloss black. If we have enough, that's what we'll end up doing. Alright, so tools needed. We've got our heat gun, Phillips screwdriver, because we're going to take these screws out, and then what we'll do is we'll cut it after, and then we'll put the screws back in. I cut this piece. This is Lux Auto Film, so pretty good stuff. We've got it a leftover roll. So first thing to do, we're going to take these 4 Phillips head screws out. I've already cut the piece so it overlaps plenty. Then we'll heat it up and we'll push it out with a squeegee, which I have here somewhere. So you'll also want to wipe this down with some type of cleaner, rubbing alcohol, goof off if there's any like glue or adhesive on there. And then we've got a squeegee with a little piece of like felt on it, that way you don't scratch the film. Now you could probably buy a black light for this, but this film is so inexpensive, and because of the shape it's really easy to do. Now if you want to come over and say do the headlight, or I mean the taillights, these would be a little tougher unless you're real experienced, someone like Misa or Skylar, even though I'm better than Misa. These are a little bit harder to wrap just because this inlay, but you could probably honestly do a pretty decent job if you gave yourself enough film to give it a couple tries. So we're gonna clean this off real quick, and then we'll lay the tint film down. Alright, so we've pretty much got it laid down, and I just realized my autofocus wasn't on, so the first part of the video might be out of focus. I'm sorry, I'm not redoing it. But we've got the first part laid down. Now you do have to be pretty careful with this stuff because it is thinner than vinyl. So you want to make sure you don't overheat it because it will rip pretty easily. But then pretty much once you've got this nice and flat, you want to start pressing it around the edge to kind of tuck it nice and good before you actually start cutting it. And even if you get it to lay perfectly like glass, which is kind of what you want to do first off, you still need to use heat because you need to get the adhesive hot enough that it sticks to the light or the painted surface. That way it holds on there real nice. So even if you lay it down perfectly the first time, you still want to hit it with heat and make sure you go around it with the squeegee to make sure it sticks. Alright guys, so there it is. There's one spot that's like a little crease right at the bottom, but you can't really see it. It's not close, or it's not perfect, but it's close, right, Misa? So there it is, pretty easy. You kind of want to cut a little bit extra and tuck it behind. Now you could actually remove this light, but I think it's easier with it in place. Now what we'll want to do is just cut little slits. You don't just want to poke the screws through, because then when you go to tighten, it'll actually pull the tint and you'll create a wrinkle around there. So you want to cut enough where the screw doesn't actually pull on the tint. But that's essentially it. When you tuck the corners, you want to use the harder side of the squeegee. That way it presses them firmly. And then when you're doing anything that's showing, you want to use the side with the felt pad on it. That way you don't scratch the tint. But that's essentially it. Then you might want to hit it if it's a little bit colder outside, like it's winter time like it is now. You'll probably want to hit it with a little bit of heat just to make sure everything is sealed nice and perfectly. That way it doesn't come up. And then just kind of keep an eye out on it. I always check them because obviously I'm not a professional rapper, although I am better than Misa. You kind of want to check it every now and then, and you might just have to press some corners down. You could use stuff like some primer to keep them down, but look how much better that looks. Don't mind the freaking bird shit. I cleaned the truck yesterday and all these birds had to shit on it already, but look how much better that looks already. That's pretty cheap, inexpensive mod for you right there. Alright guys, the third brake light is done. So what I did is I cut little tiny holes and then I heated the tint up, that way it could kind of just fall in the little hole right there. And then I put the screws back in. Honestly, it looks pretty good. Good from far, far from good, you know what I'm saying? So let's go see if we can attempt these mirrors. Alright guys, so it looks like we have enough of the gloss black vinyl. So I cut this square. Obviously it's a lot bigger because you want to overlap it. We just cleaned off the mirror. So I'm going to heat up the vinyl. I don't have my tripod or somewhere to place the camera, but I'll kind of walk you through the steps. Clean the mirror, cut a piece to overlap. We're going to heat it. We're going to peel the vinyl and then heat it up. That way it stretches a little easier. And then I'm going to set the vinyl here, pull it over, pull it vertically, try and stretch it out, get it as smooth as possible. And then we'll start working the shape of the mirror. And then once that's done and set, then we'll cut it. So let's get started. Guys, there's the mirror. Honestly, pretty good, a lot better than I thought. I think this is like a little scratch or something. I'll have to see. You don't want to really, I just wiped it down so it looks a little cleaner, but you don't really want to wash them because you don't want the vinyl to not be all the way down and to get some water under it because it'll peel it up, obviously. The hardest thing for me, because I'm not good at cutting, was just kind of following this line. So the best thing to do that I found is kind of just find the line, press the blade against it, and then just cut and really try and follow the line as best as you can. But honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. The only thing I'm worried about is these corners coming up, so I'm going to make sure I heat it real good and just press it, try and press it as much as I can. It's just a really small crevice. Usually if you have like a bumper or fender or something, you can really tuck it under there, but with the mirror there's such a small gap around this that it's really hard to tuck the vinyl in there, and that's what kind of helps seal it. But honestly, it ain't perfect, but it's close. I really like it. So I'll give you a little faraway look. So that's the side that's wrapped, and this is the side that's not wrapped. So huge difference, I think, especially once I get the rest, you know, start blacking everything else out. But damn, that looks good. It looks really good. So we're in the shade right here, but you can see it pretty good. Second mirror is laid down. This one was a little tougher, I don't know why. So might not have applied enough heat. Maybe didn't cut a big enough piece, but it's not always the same. The other side was definitely easier. Just had to work this side a little more. It's pretty good though. I'm pretty happy with it. So now what I'm gonna do is just make sure all the corners are tucked real good, make sure everything's down, and then I'll start cutting and we can see what it looks like. Alright guys, so the passenger mirror is done. Pretty happy with it, honestly. My cuts under here aren't perfect, but you can't see those really. But pretty happy with that. Here's the driver's side, as I already showed you. Pretty happy with this one also. And then like I said, we did tint the third brake light. Blends in perfectly now. I may attempt the taillights. I don't know, I think it's pretty hard because I think you'd have to do one piece, cut around this center section, which is your rear sensor, and then tint that. I'm gonna attempt to wrap this handle and then the door handles on the next video, and then these badges I'll end up just plastic dipping or ordering in black because they do sell them in black from Mopar. I am going to try wrapping these. I think they'll be pretty easy because it's just a little strip of chrome and they don't actually wrap around the door handle, which makes it harder. But, and then like I said, all the other badges we'll plasti dip or order black ones on the next video. I do want to try wrapping this piece, this top piece that goes around, and then this little piece, and then that'll just leave the grill, the ram, and the front bumper and the rear bumper that are chrome. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it changes the whole look of it, especially once the windows are tinted. Then the whole center section where the mirror and the windows are and the pillars will all be blacked out. So I'm pretty happy with it. Pretty easy and cheap mods, especially this is just vinyl and tint that we had left over, but you can order that stuff pretty inexpensively. We used Avery wrap, and then we used Lux Auto Concepts tint film. So make sure you guys always comment, like, subscribe. Let me know if you enjoyed that. Pretty easy and cheap mods to the Ram 1500, and we'll see you guys on the next one.